First, we have the Peer Support Therapy Dog Program. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. This evening, we wanted to share with the council an exciting new member of our Independence Police Department. We all are familiar with the challenges and perils of working for the police department, and that can certainly have its ups and downs. So Chief Halsey and his team have worked an innovative program, and I'm going to ask Chief Halsey to come forward tonight and do this a lot more justice than I could to introduce the newest member of our Independence Police Department. Chief Halsey.
Thank you, Zach. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, thank you for allowing us a little bit of time tonight. Really excited. We had a new member arrive today via airplane. What I'll say is before Tom Wagstaff was entered in the line of duty, we knew that we wanted to start peer support. But after that incident and seeing what that does for departments that are going through a critical incident, we fast forward that. We had other programs, obviously, for employees, but peer support is just another step towards doing what we can for employees. With that being said, I'm going to let retired Detective Virgil Garner come up this evening. He's also a chaplain for us now, continuing his service, but he's going to talk a little bit about peer support, and then he'll introduce our two special guests tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor, City Council, how are you today?
Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem. Okay. Don't want to jump the gun there. But you look good sitting there, just letting you know.
I look good.
Okay. Well, as Chief Halsey stated, we're the peer support team. Now, you've heard it probably around the country. Peer support teams are growing with great popularity. Unfortunately, it comes out of the need for counseling. The chances of people getting involved, officers getting involved in traumatic situations are very, very frequent anymore. We're dealing with situations where officers go to calls and they're dealing with traumatic situations. They're dealing with people who have just been shot. They're dealing with children that have been abused. And what do you do with that? As an officer, you're going from call to call to call. And you're carrying that burden with you from that call to the next call to the next call. Not only are you seeing traumatized situations, you're also being traumatized. You're carrying this with you, and you carry it home. And you bring it back with you the next day when you come to work. So the peer support team was designed and created out of a necessity to keep officers in their uniforms, to keep officers as not just officers, but also fathers, mothers, husbands, sisters, brothers, to keep them effective and active in their families. Some of the things that we neglect, that we forget about sometimes, is the fact that police officers are human, and so are firefighters, and so are first responders. Look at those firefighters that go to calls. They'll go to a burning house. Their job is to run into that house, not stand outside and look. They have to go in, and when they get in, sometimes what they find is pretty horrific, pretty tragic. And guess what? They get back to the base, they get back to their firehouse, they're going to get another call in another hour. Now, how much time do you think they have to process that between going from call to call? Not much time at all. We're in place so that first responders can have someone to reach out to, someone to share with. Our job as as peer support people are to come alongside the officers, to come alongside the firefighters that are going through traumatic situations and just say, hey, look, I'm here. Listen, I'm here to talk. I'm here to share with you. If you need to go to a more professional, we have those resources available also. So it just doesn't stop with us. But again, it begins with us, and sometimes it ends with us. Sometimes all it takes is just that ministry of presence, right? Just being there for somebody, listening to what they're dealing with, and helping them through. Sometimes that's all you can do. But if that's not enough, then of course we do have the professional resources that come along with that. Now, trauma. When you think trauma, what do you think about? You think, oh, somebody just injured themselves, somebody they hurt themselves. We understand we take great strides at protecting our officers and our firefighters with all this equipment. Bullet-resistant vests, armored vehicles. What about the brain? What about the mind? What about the soul and the spirit? There's a lot to deal with there. That's when the peer support team steps in. It says, hey, I'm here, I can talk with you, I can walk you through that. So I know you probably have a lot of questions about what the peer support team is, what it does, why it's here, why it's available. I want to kind of answer any questions you may have about that. But I want you to understand that what we do is provide a very practical and reassuring mode for the officers to process through. And I say officers, but it's not just officers, it's first responders. We're talking paramedics and firefighters, like I said earlier. So if you have a chance to look at some of the material we have, and we have tons of it. There's a lot of information out there about peer support and the number of things that we do and how we do it. I want you to take, we'll bring some over to you if you need some. But here's a number. I don't want to burn you up with statistics. 2017, CDC, the FBI, and there's a report out by USA Today that says in 2017, 93 firefighters around the country and 103 law enforcement officers around the country were killed in the line of duty. 93 firefighters, 103 law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty. What does that leave? That leaves families of 93 firefighters and families and friends of 103 law enforcement officers to process through that. In that same year, 129 firefighters and 140 law enforcement officers took their own lives because of the pressures, not just of the job maybe, but their personal lives, financial lives. All those things mount up. So mental health in law enforcement is crucial, but it's been all too overlooked for so many years. Thank God we have a forward-looking administration, a forward-looking, forward-thinking chief of police who understood the problem, identified it, researched it, asked tons of questions, and said, hey, what does it take to get this going? Since the fall of 2017, we've been up and running. And we actually hit the ground running. Not just here in Independence or the Jackson County area, we work as a multi-agency group where we work with other agencies across state lines, Kansas and Missouri. We work together. If there's an issue in Kansas or Lenexa and they need our help, we respond there. Same with them. They respond to us as they have in the past. So our goal, again, as a peer support team, is not just to make sure that our officers and our first responders are mentally fit and have an alternative to just sitting around drinking, because we know what that leads to. We are here to help, basically. Guess what? We have another resource, and that's in the form of a dog, a therapy dog. Thanks to Janine Baguette here from Canines for Freedom, we have a therapy dog who is going to go around with Sergeant Scholl there. He's a handler. And Ms. Baguette has gracefully decided to stay on for the next couple of days to kind of get the dog acclimated to his or her environment, to get the dog acclimated to her new owner, help them become a great team, going to churches, nursing homes, schools. We're responsive to anybody in any need. Here, if there's a need in the city council for a therapy dog, guess what? He's right there. He's accessible to you. Ms. Baguette has great history with dogs, and she could tell you more about this, but we just want to introduce you to our new member of our new team, Josie. Would you like to see her do something? Hey, Mac, can you come walk her up here?
We're still learning, so.
And we do need therapy.
Well, we haven't seen too many people that didn't, but she's available. Well, thanks to this came from the heart of Detective Wendy Winans. She saw that there was a need. She did the research. She did the legwork, and she did just a great job of getting in touch with Ms. Baguette here and making this all happen. So thank you to her. Ms. Baguette has something to say?
Sure. Thank you for having me. Just so you guys know, I'm also a deputy for Fannin County Sheriff's Department in Texas. So I'm coming from the great lone state of Texas. And because of the outreach that Wendy did which is not something that agencies do. I want you to understand, I've got a number of officers that our organization helps. I started this organization by myself because there was a need. I'm a combat veteran myself from the first Gulf War. There's a lot of organizations out there that are willing to help veterans, and that's fantastic. But there's nobody helping my brothers and sisters from the first responder field. And so our organization was started to specifically fill that gap. And majority of the people that I'm getting are from the first responder. I've got firefighters, I've got majority of police officers right now. But I will also help veterans, it doesn't matter. But when Wendy reached out to me, it really blew me away to see the outreach that an agency was making for their officer. Because I'll be back, like a bad habit, I'll be back in May, June timeframe, because I'll be bringing an actual service dog for the officer that was injured. But I also talked to them about maybe a therapy dog, because there's such a need out there. I don't know if you guys really understand, less than 5% of any law enforcement agency has any kind of mental health program within their agency across the country. Less than 5%. Every officer that I have helped up to this point has either been fired from their agency because they couldn't perform, or because they were seen as being a bad apple, or a risk, a liability. And I just don't see that as being something that should be happening. So we don't charge for the dogs, whether or not it's a service dog or a therapy dog. We don't charge for it. I don't get paid. I'm a deputy. I'm a contract dog handler. I also am a bomb and a narcotics dog handler for my agency. And my sheriff is completely behind this. In fact, the chief here and my sheriff have already talked. And so thank goodness for him. He's backing me by, letting me take the time away to come up here and help. So if you guys have any questions for me, please ask. If anything in the future, if it comes up, please ask anyone from the agency. They know how to reach me, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
Just want to say thank you. Thank you for your efforts, and thank you for volunteering to do this. So,
It's my pleasure.
thanks.
That amazes me that, because I always thought that the unions required therapy sessions to be available to our first responders.
Technically, it is, but it is a taboo.
Ah, yes, the stigma.
It is a stigma, because if you reach out for help, that means you're weak, that means you're a liability, that means,
And
in a lot of ways,
that was going to be my
the
other
agency,
question, yeah.
yeah.
So if you come from your peers, it's more, and
it's someone who's been there. Think about it. If you've got a background, and this happens a lot in the veterans community, you've been through all these horrific things where you've been on the other side of the country, or the other side of the world, fighting a war, and you come back and you're seeing some 20-year-old therapist that has no idea what you've been through, has no real length of time of training and education, and you're supposed to try and spill your guts to this person. It doesn't work well. And so the big thing that they're seeing more and more is that your peers who understand you, who are from that job, who get you, are the ones that are going to be the ones that help you heal and move forward.
I was Vietnam Air, did not serve across the seas. I don't want to give that impression, but I've seen people, and what the community was doing for them people then is not what they're doing now. And
Exactly.
realizing that the people who came from there are now in charge of what the deal is, and just like you from Desert Storm, I believe, was it?
Yes.
Yes, the first one. And this is a new attitude that is sorely needed,
Absolutely.
and I appreciate it so much, what you're doing.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Again, thanks for the time tonight. It's a very important topic, but I also want to take a moment to publicly thank the peer support team. My job's easy. I say yes, do it. But they're the ones that make it happen. They put their heart and soul in this, and I can tell you, I don't know, it's confidential when you go to peer support, but my heart of hearts believe that we have saved a life. I really do. And we're going to continue to save those. I want to publicly thank Zach Walker, the assistant city managers. You know, when they approached me with this idea, I'm going to be very honest with you, it kind of set me back a little bit thinking, this is new. I mean, we're the only ones we know of in this entire region that has a therapy dog assigned to the police department that we can use in the community. So when I went to Zach, without skipping a beat, he said, make it happen. I want to thank you all. You guys did not say, well, what's this about? You said, yeah, let's do this. Other city directors, when we talked about it, they were excited about it and they support it. So again, thank you. I think it's going to prove to be a valuable tool, not just for us in the PD, but the entire community. So thank you.
Reverend, if I may. My family was fire department.
Okay.
And I used to go door to door trying to get raises for them because our city is a different situation than some. And the police department gets their raises from different places. But the statistics that I remember was that firemen were 3 to 1 on casualties. And that is significant change. That is showing, well, not to put too much, but how law is being broken more
Right.
now, and the more gravity of the situations that first responders for the police department are being put in, because annually it's almost stable for what policemen do. I mean, what firemen do,
What firefighters do.
that die in service. This has risen significantly, and we're going to have to deal with it, and this is very much ahead of the game, or catching up.
Unfortunately, we're catching up.
Yeah,
but-
but this is forward-looking and trying to do something, and appreciate it so much.
Well, we appreciate your support. Totally. Thank you so much.
So, next, we have a presentation from the AFS students. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, I will welcome back our friend and former colleague Bruce Lowry to introduce our annual visit from the AFS students. Mr. Lowry.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. I'm trying to think how we fit categorically with the presentation that we're following, but I hope you'll enjoy this presentation too.
All right, let's get the bad one out of the way first. Any Irishmen? All right.
I failed again. Well, we're here tonight to share the AFS experience with you, the council, and the audience at home. You know that the AFS program began in 1947 when the volunteer ambulance drivers from World War II and World War I organized a student exchange program of hosting in the USA some children from the French and German families who had sheltered the American soldiers during the World War II. The AFS program then started in Independence in 1959, and Phil and Lenora Weeks hosted a girl from Osorno, Chile, and Independence has hosted over 423 students since then. Thanks to former Councilmember Page and Dan McGraw and Kathy Vest and Matt Mallinson, all graduates of Van Horn, we have determined that Van Horn, which was in the Kansas City School District until fortunately just a few years ago, now in the Independence School District, started in the AFS program in 1962. But we don't have as much information as we'd like to have from their earlier experience. So if anyone else knows anything about the AFS program in the early years, I'd like to speak with them. Likewise, additional information is still needed from Fort Osage, because Fort Osage is in Independence, a big part of their students are residences of Independence. We consider them part of the Independence AFS chapter, and Dick and Ann Franklin did provide a lot of information for us, but we can still get more. Tonight, the Independence AFS organization would like to introduce the 4 students who have been at Chrisman, the 4 students who have been at Truman, and the 2 students who have been at Fort Osage this year. These students will be leaving Independence on June the 24th on their way back to their home countries by way of Fort Worth. As we approach the end of the year, we sincerely hope that they will be returning for visits in the next few years. as they have now become members of the extended families of a number of Independence families. We anticipate that a number of the families will also be visiting the AFS student in their natural country and meeting their parents. For most of the people who are involved, it is an ongoing relationship. So the students will come forward now one at a time and introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Gemma. I'm 16 years old and I'm from Barcelona, a little town next to Barcelona in Spain.
Go Barca.
Yeah, that's my team. In Barcelona, I live with my dad and my brother. My brother is 18 and he goes to college for architecture. And my dad, he's a manager that he have to travel around the world. And I think I have this for him, that I like to travel also. Here I'm staying with the amazing family, the Robinson, Linda and Gary Robinson, and also with my host sister Carrie, that she's 17 years old, and I love her so much. I have to say this. And I can't be more proud today to decide to host me, because I'm having an amazing experience with them, and I can't say anything else. I really like them. Here I'm going to William Chrisman, and I'm enjoying a lot this time there. I ran track, cross country in the beginning, and it's there where I found my good friends that I know that I'm gonna keep for the rest of my life. And now I'm doing track and field, and I'm gonna try pole vaulting, that I think it's really cool, and let's see what happens. Also, I'm enjoying a lot my photography class. I think William Chrisman have a good program for photography, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm improving my skills here. For example, they put one of my pictures in the square like 2 months ago, and I was really thankful. And this Saturday I'm gonna have a meeting that they want me to take pictures, so I think I'm getting better, and I really like this. Also, my expectations from the future from now on, I think it's enjoying my time here and with my friends and my family, and have the full American experience. That is the reason why I came here, and learn the culture, and I think it's really cool and it's really good. And also for me, for the future, I would like to come here for the college. I will try my best, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but I will try, because I would love to do photography or something related of art or something like this. So in general, I want to thank Independence to have me here and let me. Here I found really good people. I enjoy all my time going to the mall or the Truman Library. I really like it. I think it's a good place, and I knew a lot of new things. And also when I went to the hockey game and the basketball games of my high school, I had a lot of fun. So in general, I'm gonna say thank you for having me, and I had a good time here.
Did you want to return? Yeah. Come back to the fold.
No.
I got it. Good job. Good evening. My name is Elżbieta Shimotova, and I'm from Prague in Czech Republic. Most of the people in America knows it as Czechoslovakia, which is what it was 20 years ago. we fell apart, and now we're just Czech Republic. I'm 17 years old. I'll be 18 this year in June, right before I go home, which is kind of exciting. Like, spend my 18 years, like, the birthday here. Well, Prague is about 1 million people, so it's more like a Kansas City. It's really big, and we don't have cars much. We use public transportation, which is really cool. I live with my mom, and she's, we're not supposed to say their age, never mind. Well, I have a little sister. She's a lot younger than I am. Here I live with a Brundtmeyer family. They have also a daughter and son. My sister is same age as I am, and my brother is a lot younger than I am. Here I go to Truman High School, which is really cool. I like it a lot. I joined at the beginning of the year softball team. We won the districts. We were to sectionals. It was really cool. I enjoyed a lot with them. I kind of missed them. It was really cool. It gave me a lot of friends. And then I joined a DECA club, which is marketing and business. I also went to districts, but I never placed, but it was fun. And it was all day in the mall. There was a lot of people, and it was fun. Now I'm doing track and field, so I hope I will not injure myself, as I kind of tend to. But yeah, at home I also do softball, and I hope I will get to, and I also play here softball for a club. So I hope we will win championships. Maybe some scholarship will come. I don't know. I hope. And yeah, that's about my activities. About college, this year will not count for me in Czech, so I will have to go back, take another 2 years of high school, then graduate, and then go to college or university. My plan is to go to England, to University of South Wales, to study fashion marketing and retail design, which I hope I'll get there. So we'll see. Also, I want to thank you for letting me stay here in Independence, and also for the Mavericks game, which was really fun. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, and that's about it. Thank you.
Will you take this just for me? I want to have these if you get. So, do they have softball at the University of South Wales?
Okay, hi, my name is Jimena. I'm from Costa Rica, and I live in a town called Limon. It is on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, so I'm like really used to having beaches and all that. So the cold weather is really hard for me. Limon has a population of 58,522 people approximately, and our nearest major city is called San Jose, which is the capital of Costa Rica, which is like 2 hours away from where I live. I'm staying here with my loving family, the Lambs, if they can stand up so I can present them. So my host dad, my host dad is Max, and my two little sisters are Iggy and Palmer. Oh, well, Imogen, sorry, we call her Iggy. Well, I cannot pick like one of my favorite moments with them, because like honestly, I've had like a great time with them like through all these 7 months now with them, and I'm really grateful for them for hosting me this year, because it's been like a great experience. Also, I I have a sister back home, but she's older than me. She's 18. And it's kind of a new experience being the big sister. And I think I have been doing a great job with that. So my dad back home, he's a lawyer. And my mom, she works on the electricity company, the National Electricity Company in Costa Rica, which is called ICE. Yeah. So I go to William Crispin High School, and throughout the year I've been involved in volleyball during fall season and in swimming in winter, which both of them are new sports that I have never tried like in my life before, and I think it was really fun. And now I'm doing soccer, which is the only sport I have ever played before in my life. So that's going to be really fun too. I also tried doing theater, but like the backstage part, like makeup and all that. I did that like for 2 weeks, but then I started swimming and I didn't have any more time to keep doing it. But I really like it. And I have watched the plays and everything, and it's really fun. One of my favorite classes is sculpting, which I didn't know I would like it, but I think I'm pretty good at it too. I'm taking sculpting too now, and I'm really enjoying it. My plans for when I go back home. So I'm a senior back home too. So Costa Rica school year starts in February. So before I came, I already did 6 months. So when I go back, I have to finish 4 more months, and then I'll be going to college. I really want to come back to college here, but I don't know. But if not, I'm gonna go to a public university called UCR, which stands for University of Costa Rica, and I wanna study medicine and later having a major in being a oncologist. Yeah. I really want to thank the city council for supporting the AFS program, because I believe it's a really great opportunity for students throughout the world to come here and share their culture and learn more about your culture, which I think that has helped me grow a lot as a person. So I'm really thankful about that, and yeah, thank you.
CCR means something else for us, treating their water.
Yeah, hi guys, good evening. I'm Olivia Schlie. I'm 16 years old and I'm from Germany, and I'm living in a little town called Bad Heide. And you might know Hamburg. It's 30 minutes far away with the train or with the car. And yeah, so I'm living with a family, and I'm living with my twin sister. Her name is Carlotta, and she's an exchange student too. She's in San Francisco right now, and it's great to have the same experience like this. And then I have an older brother. He's 20 years old, and he's studying right now 3D animation in a university. And then I'm living with my mom and my dad. Yeah, yes, exactly. In Germany, I used to ride horses and dance in a team, with, I think, 10 other people, 10 other girls, and we had some shows and just enjoyed the time together. And otherwise, I like to hang out with my friends, playing games together, listen to music, and going on concerts. And on this point, I'd like to introduce my host family. So if you'd like to stand up. So we have my lovely host sister, Evan Neubauer. Next to her is my host mom, Kathy. And over there is Greg. And Ren is at home, probably playing video games, but I'm really thankful to living with them, because they're giving me such a nice experience, and I just love to hanging out with them. They're making me laugh, and we're playing games, watching movies together, and they just show me the American life, and I'm really thankful for this. Here in Independence, I'm going to win Christmas with Manna and Gemma. They already presented, and I'm just also thankful to have the same experience like them, and they really helped me in the beginning to make my start easier and find a lot of friends, and we're just hanging out and experiencing the same thing, so that makes a lot of stuff easier. In the beginning, I played tennis, and it was my first time playing tennis, and it actually went really good, so I had a lot of fun. And I need to say, like, if you want to do an exchange here, try sports, try new things. It's so much easier to get to know people and like just getting in on all this stuff. So I was really thankful for this time in my tennis team. Right now I'm trying soccer, and I never actually played in a team. Like in Germany, it's the kind of country for soccer, so a lot of people are just like playing for fun. But I actually never played in a team. But right now I'm excited for all the games with my girls in the team, so let's see what's going to happen. And yeah, at the end, I'm just super thankful to enjoying all the stuff and getting all the experience, because I think it's not just for me, also for other people, nice to see so many different people from different countries and get to know so many different cultures. So I think IFS is a perfect organization. They have so many cool trips. They all like connect the people together, and yeah, I'm just really thankful for the time here, thankful for my family, my whole family here, my family back in Germany, and thank you for Independence to having me. I'm enjoying my time and enjoying my last 3 months, I guess, 4 months. Yes, thank you.
Hello, my name is August Lawrence, and I'm from Germany too. And what?
You're not from Berlin, the band?
Oh no, I'm from. No, this is my shirt is. I got that from Berlin. I live there. Berlin is the capital of Germany, and it shares a lot of has a lot of in common with Kansas City, in like sense of diversity, and also culture. And it has about I would say it's far bigger than Kansas City. It has about 3.5 million people. Yeah, the population is about 3.5 million, and I think it's the 4th biggest city in Europe, in whole of Europe, in the European Union. And in Berlin, I live in the upper west side. When Berlin was split, there was the American sector, was not of the UdSSR, and I live currently. I live with my mother, and because I had kind of a different situation because my parents split up when I came here, and so now I don't really know how I will live there when I come back. And so currently I will live with my mother alone. And in Germany I played badminton for about 5 years, but I never really got into it because I always had practice like once a week. And also what is very different from Berlin, from Germany and the United States is that our school system we don't have any sport teams in our schools. So if you want to attend any sports or sport activities, you have to go to a club outside of your school and usually also pay a fee to that club. And so I usually had training once a week, so I never really got professional in that sport. And here I attend the Fortis H High School, and I play in the fall. I used to play soccer in the C team, and now I'm playing tennis, and I'm also in the debate team, in the debate association. And I really enjoy the debate team because it is a great experience where you can meet a lot of great people and also a lot of smart, very smart people. And I could also learn a lot in that short time now that I'm in the debate team from January until now. And I'm living here with the Emery family, if you guys stand up for a second. Yeah, my husband, mother, Ashley, my dad, Robert, and my two little sisters, Abigail and Adeline, and also my little brother, Braxton, but he's not here today. And yeah, I really enjoy the time here, especially when I especially enjoy the American schools, because in Germany you usually have about 15 different subjects with the same 30 people over 4 years. So here, it's a great opportunity to meet a lot of people, and also a lot of lifelong friends. And I also especially want to thank the AFS team and also the City Council to make it possible for me and all the AFS students to come here. And also I want to thank a lot of volunteers who really work with us and for us, and also provide us with a lot of information and also do a lot of things for us. And also for the host families for providing the space for us where we can live. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Thanapat Chunaka, as known as Piano. I'm from Satun in the southern of Thailand. There's about 300,000 people in my city. It's kind of like small city. So it's 12 hours drive up to Bangkok, the capital city of Thailand. My dad worked in Satun. He was a government officer, and my mom, she is a nurse at Bangkok. And I have a younger brother named Shortanet. He was 15 years old. I live with the Pearson family. Could you stand up, please? She is my host mom. She's named Sue Pearson. And my host dad's not here. It's Mark Pearson. And so we have a lot of time together. We have like watch movie and go around the other states like Kansas or Colorado, or have like Oklahoma. And they have a good dinner every night. We love it. And so usually in my country, I like to hang out with my friend every evening, like have a dinner with them and have like walk and talk around the school, because I have like studying in boarding school. So I stay in the school like every month, and we can like get back home like twice a month. So when I work here, I like do the new thing that I never do before, like go to do something like ice skating. I never done that before, or kind of like make a snowman, because in my country we don't have snow season. So I'm going to Truman High School. I joined swimming in the fall, and I joined school play in the winter. And right now I join main choir. I really love it, and my favorite class is acting class, because I like to be other person, like be other person, not like be only myself. Like I'll try to be other person, so it's kind of like fun to be other person. So my plan when I return to my home country, I have to go to high school for 1 year, and then I have to go to college. So I kind of like decide to go to engineering school, or maybe kind of like acting school, because I like love two of these so much. So I'm not sure about which one is the best for me right now. And thank you for AFS program to give many opportunities to me. And thank you for City Council. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm also from Germany. I live in a really small town called Hochdorf. There are about 4,600 people in that town. And maybe you know Stuttgart, which is like the biggest town that's close to my hometown. It's also my state capital. Yeah, my parents in Germany are Daniela and Günther. My mom is she does the finance in an NGO called Child Fund Germany, and my dad is an engineer. Here I'm hosted by Marilyn Gunn and her husband Kelvin. There she is. And I also have the privilege to have another host sister. She's also an exchange student. She's called Doreen, and she's gonna go after me. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil where she's from. I really love them. They're super supportive, and they always welcomed me and saw me as their daughter or sister. And yeah, here I'm like doing totally different activities to what I'm used to doing from home. At home I do gymnastics, and in the fall semester I decided to start cross country, and then I did diving in winter because, I mean, let's do something new. And now I'm doing soccer, and I love diving a lot. It was great. And I also did marching band, which is something we don't have in Germany. And it was just so much fun, and like I felt I learned so much more about music through that. Yeah, my school is Truman. And yeah, what I'm looking forward to during the next months is also like playing soccer and having fun with my team, and also the band trip I'm going to be there. We're going to Washington, D.C. and march in a parade. My plans for when I'm going back are I have to finish school, I have 2 more years, and then I want to go to college and study medicine, hopefully becoming a doctor. Yeah, that's it. I want to say thank you to City Council and Independence for hosting us. It's such an enriching experience, and I've learned so much, and I hope people learned also from me. And I want to say thanks to all the volunteers. They do such amazing work. They support us and plan trips, and also to the host families that just welcome us as their kids. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Doreen Haj Arif. I'm from Palestine. I live in Ramallah, but it's not too big, not too small. It's like 30 minutes or an hour away from Jerusalem, which is the capital. Back home, I live with my mom and dad and my 3 siblings. They're all older than me, and I still can't determine whether being the youngest is a blessing or a curse. So, I usually hang out with my friends. We go shopping or watch movies, And that's kind of what I do here too. And I've been learning ukulele over the past few months, so it's been great. What else? I go to Truman High School, and I've been doing choir, and I forgot that I'm hosted by Marilyn Gunn. She's great, and Lisa's my whole sister, obviously. They're really supportive, and they're so lovely, and I think Marilyn might be the coolest person I have ever met, so. I plan on maybe joining the tech team for the upcoming play in Truman High School, Dracula, and I just want to thank you all for the constant support you give the AFS program. And finally, what I plan on doing when I get home is finishing school first, high school. I have 2 more years, and then I'm gonna go to university, and I plan on studying English literature and becoming an interpreter or translator. So, yeah, we'll see how that works out. I'm really excited to get finished with high school and, pursue my dreams. So, yeah.
Good.
I want to thank the City Council for all the opportunities, that I had as an employee for several years, and all the support that you've given to the AFS program. I was appreciative of some of the comments some of the students made about the volunteers that keep the program going. I'd like to introduce Cheryl and Don Kaufman, the back row. They've been leading our Independence program and part of the Kansas City program for several years. And in front of them, Brenda Stoll. And Linda Robinson has hosted a number of times, and we think we've got her convinced to take on some more leadership responsibilities also.
Well, I've been enjoying my time with AFS. I hosted last year and I hosted this year, and my daughter this year is Gemma. I'm a liaison to all the girls that are over at Crispin, or at least 2 of them, and I've just really enjoyed them so much.
So we would like to talk with anyone who would have an interest in hosting a student next year or the year after who might be almost as good as the students who are here this year. But I've been with the program since 1984, so it's ongoing, and it's always good. And again, thank the council. Are there any questions from the council? And we don't have any program with Ireland.
It's easy to see that giving gets. I mean, the radiant faces of the people who volunteer and the people who host these wonderful kids. It's just a get situation, and anybody who does it just shines all the time.
And we've had hosting families who have in the past and who are still serving on the city council. So thank you, Scott, for your involvement. And so hosting is open to almost anyone.
And can I get Messay's autograph? Sure, we can do that. Get us all in there. Go down from them and you do it. Next, we have a presentation on Historic Preservation Master Plan. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Recently, the Preservation Division of our Community Development Department was awarded a $20,000 grant to really build off of our comprehensive development plan, but specifically focus on historic preservation in our community, which we certainly know is a major priority of our citizens. So tonight we have Wendy Shea, our Historic Preservation Manager, with us, who's going to give you an update on a little bit more about what this grant has involved, the process that we've gone through, and our timeline moving forward. So I will turn it over to Ms. Shea.
Good evening. As was said, my name is Wendy Shea. I'm the Historic Preservation Manager for the City of Independence, and I am actually pleased to turn the presentation over to a representative from Shockey Consulting. The grant is actually helping the city pay for our public engagement process through the use of Shockey Consulting to be able to reach out to the public, to have several public meetings, the first of which will be April 11th. And it's my pleasure now to turn the presentation over to Taylor, excuse me, Vanda Velde. And she will be just giving a brief overview about what our historic preservation new master plan will be about and more on the public engagement process. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Wendy, and thanks for having me here today. Again, my name is Taylor Vandevelde, and I'm here representing Shockey Consulting, and we're very excited to be working with the City of Independence and the community on this plan. So we're just going to be giving an overview on the plan itself, and then a quick synopsis of the community engagement for the plan as well. So the Historic Preservation Master Plan, or HPMP that we're calling it, is really supposed to be a 21st century view of historic preservation. And what we mean by that is taking these historic resources and using them as tools to revitalize the community for the future. So why are we updating the plan? Well, the last plan was part of the comprehensive plan, chapter 11, and it was a pretty thick chapter, and it was updated almost 19 years ago, so it's about that time to update it, and that's what we're gonna do. So the 5-year updates are actually required as the city is statused as a certified local government, which is also partially funded by that along with the grant. And staff has also identified the need to take that thick chapter and kind of break it down into the nitty-gritty of what the community and staff needs to take historic resources and let that influence decisions for the future. As well as the plan will also articulate the city's long-range vision for historic preservation. So not just what are the resources now, but what will the resources be in the future as well. And also identifying preservation goals, visions, and implementation strategies to preserve and enhance the City of Independence's unique historic resources that they have compared to other cities. The plan will also identify buildings and structures that are coming up on 45 years of age, and also 1960s and 1970s buildings that some may not see or some may not view as historic structures right now, but we need to preemptively protect them right now. As with most plans, this will build on the larger plans that the city has already held, the comprehensive plan, and also the strategic plan. And the community has already put in hours and work and identified historic preservation as an important part of the city and its goals, so we're going to continue to work on that in this plan as well. And continuing with the citizen-based plan, we are looking at the citizen survey for 2018, which has proven that the community thinks this is important. And the numbers that you're seeing here are the people who believe that these statements are either they agree or strongly disagree. So it's a combination of both. So 92% of people agree or strongly agree that it is important to preserve the city's historic sites, as well as maintain the character of the square, preserve historic neighborhoods, and also promote its heritage sites. So the community has identified it's important to them, so we need to take that and then create a structured plan to help ensure that those are protected for the future. So just a quick look at the community engagement process and what we plan on doing throughout. There's going to be 5 community engagement goals. 3 are listed here, 2 will be on the next slide. The first is going to be inform stakeholders and general public to increase the understanding and support for historic preservation. And 2 is going to be to consult the community and identify and prioritize the historic preservation current issues and also goals and implementation strategies to help avoid the issues now. 3 is to involve, per request of the grant, that you have to involve the community, but also that the community wants to be involved and sees it as important. So involving the community and stakeholders throughout the process, not just holding a presentation, so involving them now and also in the middle and also at the end when the plan is finished. So the last 2 goals are to demonstrate and prioritize. Demonstrate that the community input through these meetings and activities will shape the visions and goals and implementation strategies for the plan. And then prioritize the community's historic preservation goals for not only now, but 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and so on and so forth. So some of the ways that we are going to be engaging and keeping the public involved with this, even when we're not having a meeting, but to kind of fill those gaps and let them know what's going on. Fact sheet, social media, Nextdoor, which is also social media, but that's specifically targeted towards neighborhoods, to give them information and then get them to come to the meetings as well. City newsletter and city website, where we'll be posting information ongoing throughout the entirety of the project. And then also a community survey to get specific quantitative feedback from people. So here's an overview of the engagement timeline. We are obviously in March 11th. And we've completed the public engagement plan and how we're going to set up the rest of the plan process. And we're going to be holding the Stakeholder Steering Committee meeting March 26th, and then 2 public meetings for the general public, as well as the Stakeholder Steering Committee if they'd like to join as well. And then the final draft will be completed in August. And again, social media and project information will be ongoing throughout the entirety of that to keep people in the loop and engaged. So quickly, the 3 meetings we're having, the next one will be March 26th at the Trails Museum, and the Stakeholder Steering Committee is going to be identifying the goals, visions, and implementation strategies amongst themselves, and we're going to be guiding those activities for them. And we're also going to identify the current historic preservation issues. And then we're going to take that and we're going to hold a public meeting to have the public go over and revise and look at those proposed strategies, visions, and goals. And then for the second public meeting, that one is going to be more of an informative review of the draft plan itself to go over that. All right, so to conclude all of that into a more concise 1 page, the plan itself is going to build upon previous plans and previous community goals for the city. And it's also going to identify specific historic preservation goals and implementation strategies to preserve the unique historic resources that the city has. And it's also going to serve as a great resource for people who want to know more about historic preservation and the process in the City of Independence, and a guide for city staff as well to refer to. Overall, it's aimed to enhance Independence's aesthetic and attractiveness, and serve as a place to live, work, and visit. And with that, I conclude, and I want to thank you for your time, and we're very excited to get to work with a city that's passionate about historic preservation and takes so many strides to make sure it's included in future endeavors. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
You're most appreciative of what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Oops.
Excuse me. Just wanted to follow up. Does the council have any questions concerning the process or any of the dates? Again, our first public meeting will be held on April 11th. That'll be at the North Independence Mid-Continent Public Library branch, and we look forward to working with everyone and getting a lot of public feedback to incorporate into our new plan.
One question.
Mhm.
Who are the stakeholders in that steering committee?
The majority are representatives from heritage groups and the city's
Okay.
historic sites.
Are those the volunteers that are the support staff, like at the Vale and Bingham and all those?
Volunteers and board members.
And board
Yes.
members, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Do we have some experts that will be looking at the facilities too?
The facilities will be a part of it because we'll be
Yeah.
touching on some heritage tourism issues, but the vast majority of what we're going to be talking about and what we're trying to work through are planning issues.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Councilman Perkins?
Thank you. So every 5 years, we're going to take a strong review. So this is just kind of laying the bedrock of reviewing everything that we haven't done over the past 20 years almost, and getting us to a place where every 5 years we can take a review and see what we need to do and tweak. With a 5-year review, what does that look like with a 5-year review?
Sure. So because it has been a while since we've gone through this process, we're really trying to get through every aspect of historic preservation, how we're currently effective, if we're not effective, are there issues that we're not addressing that the community would like to see us address. So we're taking those priorities and making them a 5 and 5 and 10 and 10. So 5 top goals for the next 5 years, 10 top goals for the next 10 years. And the intent is to really go through kind of with a fine-tooth comb in this 5-year process and then give us some long-term objectives for that 10-year process so that we can go back in 5 years, see how effective we are with meeting those short-term goals, and then look at how we can meet those longer-term goals and then have this larger process again in a 10-year period.
Sure. That makes sense. Obviously, things have changed in almost 20 years, and it's really kind of neat to see being on the council at that time in 2000, then also here currently we can see the difference in enthusiasm and some of the things that we're already moving forward to with connectivity with our historic sites. So it's really a neat, cool atmosphere to really lay the groundwork at this moment in time. So
It is.
looking forward to this engagement.
It is very exciting. We have nothing but good things coming in preservation.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have a presentation on the first quarter report from the Independence on a Rolling Working Group Committee. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, as the council will recall, some time ago we appointed the Downtown Redevelopment Coordinating Committee, who spent the better part of a year looking at 16 different redevelopment plans for the area we define as downtown and largely went unimplemented. This committee boiled that down into one master redevelopment plan to serve our community. To ensure that we didn't end up with the 17th plan to not be implemented, we asked the council to form the group that we call the Independence on a Roll Working Group. So tonight I've asked Eric Erfer to give the council an update on the going-ons of that committee. It might please the council to know that historic sites assessment and recommendations are one of the things the committee's been working on, so we're actually going to do a 2-for-1 here and knock out the next 2 items on the agenda. So I will defer to Mr. Erfer to take care of both presentations.
Great, thank you, Mr. City Manager. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Eric Erfer, Independence Director of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. As Zach mentioned, the Independence on a Roll Working Group has been busy doing a little bit of work. It was established by Resolution 683 on November 4th of 2018. Its membership consists of 3 actually council members, 1 member representing the Independence Chamber of Commerce, 1 member representing the Independence Economic Development Council, and the mayor serves as an ex officio to the group.
Eric, if I may, Beth is here. Thank you, Beth, for showing.
So Beth is here. Hi, Beth. Specifically, those committee members are Councilmember Doherty, Councilmember Perkins, Councilmember Van Camp serves as the alternate, Dan O'Neill represents the EDC, Beth Franklin represents the chamber, and again, Mayor Weir is ex officio to the group. As Zach mentioned, the Downtown Redevelopment Coordinating Committee actually was established to advance neighborhood stabilization and economic development in downtown Independence, and they had a couple of different areas that they were looking at. First, they needed to determine priority areas in which to work. Then they recommended the development of a working group, which is what we're talking about here tonight. And then they made some key recommendations to that working group to sort of carry that mission and goal forward of the DRCC. So the IRWG, or the working group, supports the work of the DRCC. Their prime initiatives are to advance those initiatives and recommendations that were made to them by the DRCC, advise and provide recommendations to the City Council and staff regarding project prioritization, some funding and financing options, some timelines, and project feasibility. They are allowed to use consultants as necessary to complete project feasibility, funding options, and financing options, and to provide progress reports like we're doing here tonight to the City Council at least quarterly. So since they were formed, they've met twice, but they've done quite a bit of work just in that short amount of time. They've initiated the Justice Center pre-development planning work with J.E. Dunn. They've engaged a consultant to develop an economic impact study for city-owned historic sites, and they've conducted a historic site that needs assessment and explored some potential funding options, which we'll talk about here just in a minute. With that said, that concludes the first quarterly report of that group. So I'll pause if you have any questions about that group's work before we get into the next presentation.
It sure went quick, but we put some elbow grease into trying to figure some of this stuff out. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, one of the major projects that was undertaken was the focus on our city's historic sites and a full-scale site assessment of each of the different properties that are city-owned historic sites. So studying these historic sites and maybe taking a harder look at those is certainly something that our residents tell us that they want to do. When asked over the last 3 ETC surveys, is it important for us to preserve our historic sites? The resounding answer has been yes. In 2013, 94% of our residents said yes, it is. In the 2016 ETC survey, 93% said the same. And in 2018, 92% agreed that it was a very strong desire to do so. So you all as well made that a priority in your 2019 City Council priority list under the improved public infrastructure and facilities goal. You wanted us to focus on historic sites, complete this comprehensive historic sites assessment, and then convene some stakeholders and develop a funding plan, or at least look at some options to fund some of the needs that were identified. Tonight we're going to talk about the results of that work. Okay, the needs assessment that was conducted was done so on these various sites: the Bingham Wagner Estate, the Vail Mansion, the National Frontier Museum Complex, and the 1827 Log Courthouse. In addition, we had already previously taken a look and done a site analysis and cost opinions for the renovation of the Pioneer Spring Cabin, the Truman Depot, and Old Fire Station Number 1. So the needs assessment was extremely comprehensive. It literally looked at everything from basements to rooftops. All of the different things on this list was employed when they looked at each of the different sites. So as you can see by the list, it was pretty comprehensive. They had some very, very common findings throughout, so we're going to touch on those here just for a minute. One of the common findings that they had was a lot of deterioration of windows and a lot of door issues throughout. Pretty common amongst almost every one of our sites. The pictures here illustrate that from the Bingham Wagner and the National Frontier Trails Museum. And here again at the Bingham Wagner, both in windows and door issues. Another common finding was plaster repairs. So wherever there was plaster in these historic homes, generally we needed some care and some attention paid to those. Another common finding was stabilization issues. The picture there with the Vail Mansion is in the basement. We have some temporary shoring that's been done. The other picture there is of the National Frontier Trails Museum, where we have some settlement issues that are going on affecting the second floor, as well as some of the flooring on the first level. Tuck pointing was a common theme throughout. Pretty much if our historic sites have brick on them, they also need tuck pointing. So a very common theme, as was concrete and asphalt degradation throughout. So a lot of parking lot repairs that are needed, and a lot of concrete repairs as well, both in the ornamental structures as well as some of the just traditional walkways and stairs. Decomposing wood was another common condition that they found, both at the Vail, the Bingham, the Old Mill office, even at the National Frontier Trails Museum. There's a lot of wood degradation that's taking place throughout the historic sites. And then roof issues. Again, as I said, basement to roof. So here's a couple of roof issues that they discovered. One at the 1827 log courthouse around the flashing and some of the shingles around the chimney structure. And then the Vail Mansion chimney structure as well needs some attention. There were a couple of other initiatives that were examined or at least discussed with some of our stakeholders groups since we were out talking. We talked a little bit about the National Frontier Trails Museum expansion, or the completion of its master plan. That had a lot of interest. A lot of people wanted to see that. The thought and theory was if we were going to go to the expense of doing all the fix-its around the National Frontier Trails Museum, perhaps we should look at the master plan and consider the build-out of that as well at the same time. The Steamboat Arabia was also discussed. There has been some recent developments with at the state level, so we're keeping our eye on that to see what might come to fruition with that. But there was some interest in seeing that site potentially come to Independence as well. So in summary of that, 12 historic structures were assessed by Rosen Preservation and SW Architects. All of this, what we just talked about, comes at quite a hefty price, as you can see on the slide here. In total, just over $28 million in fix-it needs, some immediate, some deferred maintenance, as well as some of those, capturing some of those initiatives that we talked about on the last slide. So one of the things that folks were asking me as I was going out and giving these discussions or having these discussions, they would say, well, you already have a transient guest tax. Could some of that money be shifted over and used for this particular initiative? Unfortunately, all of that money is already dedicated to our tourism efforts. Specifically, the transient guest tax, or our hotel tax, generates about $2 million annually. About $1.3 million of that is used for administration and marketing and sales and services. So that's the piece of the equation that goes out around the country, actually, markets us, and tries to convince people to come here and visit here, either as a destination or as they're visiting Kansas City. That leaves about $500,000 for the National Frontier Trails Museum operations and maintenance, and that comes out of our transient guest tax, leaving about $235,000 for historic site maintenance and repairs, which includes 3 maintenance folks that do all the trimming and the mowing and all the small fix-its in and around the homes. So then we started talking about a potential funding source that is on the books down at the state legislature. There was enabling legislation that was passed in 2005 that allowed cities to ask voters for approval of a sales tax up to 1% to be applied to all gross sales in all restaurant establishments for the purpose of historic preservation and museum operations. You can see here at various different rates what that might generate compared to our restaurant sales in Independence. 0.5% rate would generate just over $1 million. 1%, the full 1% is allowed by the enabling legislation, would bring in about 2.1. So the other thing that we always like to do is, well, if that's a pretty big number. That looks like a lot. How much will that really cost me? So bringing it down to everyone's pocketbooks a bit. So at the 0.5% rate, for a $5 foot-long sandwich, for example, you'd pay about 2.5 cents more. For a 1% rate, that foot-long would cost you an additional nickel. For a more extravagant meal, up to $100, the 0.5% would cost 50 cents more. And at the full 1%, that would cost $1 more. So as I said, we were going around talking to a lot of stakeholders about this, and they are all listed here on the slide. We spoke to 11 different groups. They included the NFTM Friends Group, the Vail Society, the Independence Square Association, the Independence Attractions Coalition, the Independence Hotel Alliance, the Tourism Commission, CNA Depot Friends Group, the Parks Commission, the Heritage Commission, the Jackson County Historical Society, and the Bingham Wagner Historical Society. So at the end of that conversation, we ask a couple of questions, and then we let them discuss it among themselves. The questions were, would you support a tax initiative for historic preservation and museum operations? If so, at what rate? And then what term would you be most comfortable with?
Eric, if I can interrupt.
Sure.
Excuse me, if I can interrupt. What was the response? I was there for your first presentation, wasn't able to make to the rest of it, but what was the sense of the discussion that they were having? In general.
In general, let me jump to the next slide, and I'll help you with that a little bit.
Sorry.
So no, you're okay. So in general, the discussions that they were having, first and foremost, is there wasn't a whole lot of discussion on whether or not they were in favor of the tax. 100% were, and it didn't take them long to reach that. There wasn't a whole lot of back and forth on that particular one, nor was there a whole lot of conversation on the rate. They all agreed at 1%. If you're going forward with such an initiative based on the needs that were assessed and the cost and the dollars associated with that, for them, the recommendation would be 1%. The debate really came in the form of term, and they were pretty split on that. We had 45%, or 5 out of the 11 groups, that preferred a 10-year term with a renewal option after that. Then the other 55% were more in favor of a perpetual option, similar to our Parks and Recreation sales tax now. Really, that was the most banter that they had, really, was over the term scenarios. They really, there were some discussions about some of the other options, the Steamboat Arabia, for example, a lot of discussion around that. And a lot of discussion around the National Frontier Trails Museum expansion as well. Again, coming to that resolution that if we were going to invest in the money to fix it, perhaps we really should be looking at the entire master plan build out as well. So really that kind of was it.
The master plan build out's really pretty impressive. It's something that this city dearly needs and been wanting to do for quite some time, but as always, it comes down to that dollar and cents and priorities. So,
Okay, so I'm sorry. So with that, that was the recommendations back to the group and the conclusion of the report, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Eric. Very, very good report. It leaves a lot of room for us to be able to do something, doesn't it? There's a lot of need. I noticed on the needs assessment, the Chicago Alton Depot wasn't listed. Do we not own that? It's on city property, but we do own it?
Yeah, we do, and really that's a tip of the cap to them. They have done such an amazing job of maintaining that facility, that volunteer group that's there, that there are a few small fix-its, but we know of those. So we didn't spend the money to add that into the study because we know of the few issues that are there, and it's really in good shape.
There's a support group that helps run the Chicago Alton. Is there also a foundation, or is there a not-for-profit that people donate to that helps support that financially?
Yeah, the Friends Group is a non-for-profit.
There's a Friends that's a not-for-profit.
Yes, and they do a lot of fundraising. They're probably one of the most active fundraising groups. They do some trips and things of that nature to generate the funds that they then put directly back into that facility. So and all of our facilities do that.
Has that supported it? Has that?
Yes.
That fundraising, is that maybe possible with some of the others?
The others do that. They are quite large in scale. Those other facilities are a lot larger, and the needs are a lot more extensive. But they certainly do. They hold special events and rentals and things of that nature, and they do reinvest in those facilities at a smaller rate, obviously proportionally to what they do at the CNA.
I didn't know if there were any discussions in the group about trying to partially fund this with an endowment and try to do fundraising even through people's estates A lot of not-for-profits do that. It's something we've never explored as a city, but as a not-for-profit, it's really not going to the city. It's going to a particular piece of historic property, and it's part of an endowment. Is that something we might look at down the road?
Sure, of course. I think really to get it that large number and all the needs that are called for, that are identified, it's really going to take a multi-pronged approach towards getting that. I don't think we're going to be able to just look at one source as the all-out solution.
Right. And with your discussions about the Arabia, obviously there's discussions at the state level, but I think for us to go to the voters and ask for this, the need is great, but that would be probably the prize that would get people's attention if we actually got to the point of wanting to put this on the ballot, the sales tax, the restaurant sales tax. And I don't know, in talking with the folks from the Arabia, we would probably at some point need to have some concrete ideas and get a concrete commitment before we could go forward with that. But I think that would be spectacular as far as being able to do this, if we could get that commitment. So,
Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, that would be pretty spectacular. That was a big piece of what we were discussing too. But if some development's taking place in Jeff City that may or may not take place, I think our jewel that we have is our historic sites, that we have enough interest in that we can definitely make some good headway with just the routine maintenance and the upkeep. And certainly that master plan, that the build out for the Natural Front Trail Center would be a jewel in our crown as a city for that. Absolutely, for sure. So what would be our next steps then? I know we're kind of going back to your previous presentation with the Independence on a Roll Working Committee, that we're looking to develop an economic impact study of our city-owned historic sites. So do we have to wait on that to have a better understanding what our impact may be, or?
Well, I'll defer to the city manager, but that study is starting, and the next step really after this presentation is for me to turn it over to you all, or to the city manager, and he will turn it over to you all, and then we'll continue to get you as much information as we can with the economic impact study.
I can really think of no other topic that really is the tie that binds throughout the strategic plan. I mean, our historic sites really are our cash cow, our opportunity to set ourselves apart from everyone else across the metropolitan area. Certainly this touches on quality, about improving those sites, growing the community through attracting new visitors, becoming more financially sustainable through new tax revenues and visitors to our community, and certainly, the customer service aspect of when we host people in our communities. I think it's very evident, and the council's picked up on that the citizens are speaking to this in the survey. You all at your council retreat this past November made this one of the action items. Sometimes I like to tie back when citizens ask, why are we talking about this? This was one of the 5 goals the council set forward. Really looking at public infrastructure, shoring up our sites. We all know that we have this $1 billion of deferred maintenance. This 28.6 is a big part of that. So this is starting to, eat the apple one bite at a time. Really what we would need from the council is some policy direction about, do we want to utilize this potential tool, this restaurant tax that is at our disposal to use? Is that something we want to use to tackle that problem? And at what point do we want to go to the voters to try to engage them in making that determination?
Is your office, do you have those options prepared to us that we can review at different time structures when this need to be on? Because going to the Jacksonville County Election Board, you have to have hit certain dates in order to have ballot issues.
Certainly, yeah. We've talked to the clerk's office, the city clerk's office, and she's got that at her fingertips and has let us know the different time frames of when the council would have to have this approved so that she could get it over to the election board to be certified. So we could certainly provide that timetable of an if-when for the council to determine when we'd need to start mobilizing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, as I get your information here, we're funds being everything. The funding we have is being used to primarily get people to come and see something that we need to repair. So we need more funds to repair what we're saying we want them to come and see. And, you know, this may be out of context, but like if we ship the cabin to the trails is in no better shape than the cabin. It just seems to be a catch-22. We got to get something, somebody to be an angel here, which they're doing. I mean, they're getting outside sources because this is a primary thing in our city. This is, as your data says, and they are contributing to do it as individuals without the tax. We've had the use tax go down. This would certainly be a test to see how dedicated the people are. But how we, once again, how we sell it, how it goes out there, and how we educate them on where it's going to go. And so, as I see it, it's identifying after we get the money. I mean, having a plan to where we want to do this, because we can't spend more money on getting people here if we don't have the repaired sites for them to see. Good by you?
Yes. Yeah, each of the sites in particular, as far as where the money, if we were fortunate enough to find another revenue stream, how the money would be allocated and those types of things, we would go back to the group that just did this analysis and we would ask them for critical points and they would help us further prioritize. The list of things that are needed is certainly there within the report, but we'll have to refine that and then start prioritizing.
So, and that may be without any influx, reorganizing what we're doing now. We may have to take a holiday somewhere, and
could be.
Could be. Go ahead.
One more. As I'm sitting here thinking it out loud and discussing stuff in my head, if we were to move forward with, and this may be a question for you, Mr. City Manager, as we move forward with a potential package to give to the voters, where does the Steamboat Arabia fit into this component, if at all, right now? Is there something that we can approach the owners with and discuss them that we are, as a city, are being very serious with our discussion right now and would like to have a serious discussion with you and move that forward with them for feedback?
Yes, and I don't mind revealing the council, as you know, we've had very direct conversations with ownership at the Steamboat Arabia. It does not look like that their lease will continue to be renewed at their current home in the River Market in Kansas City, so they are house shopping right now. We've let them know that this is an issue that really resonates with our community through our citizen satisfaction survey. We've let them know the feedback we got through the DRCC report, that there appears to be a very strong interest in this and that we'd be more than happy to include this as part of a package with the restaurant tax should it move forward. Heretofore, we've not, signed any official term and condition sheet with them. These have been just, very direct conversations about what's their interest level, which I would, qualify that as very high. But, until both sides have formally agreed to it, it's just a conversation. But we've expressed our interest, they've expressed theirs. It's certainly mutual. It's just a matter of locking it down.
Sure, I know there's been ongoing dialogue with them on that. As we take the steps forward and want to start making some positive steps, we should maybe reach out to them one more time, say, hey, we're taking steps, we would like to know if you're on board, if you're not on board, just so as things move forward in the future, there is no confusion if they are willing to work with us or not.
Correct, and I think your assessment of that situation is correct, and that's certainly the path we should proceed down.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Thank you, Eric.
I guess we're good.
Thank you.
Next. Let me turn this on. Next, we have a presentation on, what is it, historic sites again? No. Next, we have a staff report on city boards and commissions. Madam City Clerk.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. I've got one quick item today. On my report, on the back sheet, you will see our current list of vacancies, and at the bottom are the individual council appointments. Right now, we have a recommendation to appoint Michelle DeMoss as a representative of the Independence Square Merchants Association to the Tourism Commission. So if there's no objection from the council, I'll get that resolution added for Monday's meeting. Any objection? Great, and that's all I have.
Okay. Anything else the council would like to discuss? I have something. It was my pleasure to go to Jefferson City last week in support of restoring the Missouri Film Tax Credit Program. As you all know, I'm an avid film fan, but this goes beyond a hobby. This bill is critical to ensuring the television and film industry once again consider Missouri a viable site. We've lost out to Georgia now for Ozarks. We've lost out to Georgia for Sharp Objects. When this was in place, it sunshined, and they didn't renew the bill. While I was down there, there was no one in opposition to it. It's just that it's taken into other bills of that like, but it has to be, I feel, filtered out by itself because it's a win-win situation. Well, some numbers are as high as $300,000 a week that we missed out on that HBO series, and me and Mr. Urfer have talked extensively about the recommendations for Vail Mansion that they had and other things. And it just seems that we're not in a vacuum. I mean, outside influences are always there, and we have to address them. And going down there and talking to that committee was one of those things that this council does. And when we travel in support of the city, it's always a unique pleasure to be able to do that. Mr. City Manager, anything else?
I have nothing else tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We are adjourned.